Alright, folks. So today I want to talk to you about an important aspect of goal setting that we often don't flesh out well enough. Goals are all about the understanding of the intent, at least in terms of success. Right? We can set any goal, and we all know this, right? New Year's resolutions. And we can even set a strong intent behind it. Like, you can make it the SMART goal, right? Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, time bound, right? Get all those pieces in there so that you have a clear idea of that goal, of when you get there. But the part we don't necessarily talk about enough is the wider reaches of what happens when we get there. Now, it's easy to say I want this and it's going to give me all these things. Like, I want more freedom. Sure, who doesn't want more freedom? I want more money, right? I want, say something more specific, like, I want a really nice car. Or I want a family. Yeah. But what I want you to do today is ask yourself, when you have these goals, what I want you to do is step beyond it. Step beyond the goals that you initially assigned for yourself. And let that further that goal. A lot of us, we get to a goal and then we feel lost. We question what we're gonna do. Like, okay, I put all this time and effort into this. Now what? And we start looking for another goal. This is actually designed to help solve that a little bit. Take your goal, whatever it is, and then ask yourself, what would you do? You know, if you got more money, what would you do with that money? You know, how would you apply that money? What would that change in your life? And some of this is for the initial goal setting. Right? So it could be figuring out, getting more specific, figuring out how much money you want. Because what do you want to do with the money? What do we want to do with, if you have more freedom, what are you going to do with more freedom? If you had that ideal relationship, what are you going to do once you are happy and in love? Taking the time to look beyond it now saves you having to worry about it later. Not only that, but as you do this process, as you increase your awareness of the more, I guess I would say, global outcome for your life, it connects on a deeper level, right? Because you're making more connections between your goal and the outcome, and getting more realistic about it. Some of us strive for things, and that's the other reason I want you to do this, because some of us strive for things that ultimately don't really serve us. They don't really get us what we want. We think it does, because it's gotten other people what they wanted. But without that higher level of clarity, it's hard to know. And obviously, even if you get there, life can change. You could have changed in the process. But by starting out from this angle and really looking at how these things would shape your life, or maybe, like I said, exactly how much money you need, because if I had more money, what would I do? For one, that also gives you information about who you are. What do you want to do? What's meaningful to you? What matters beyond the immediate goal? Where are your values and beliefs? If you have more freedom, what would you do? It gives you great insight into your mindset and how you're feeling. You know, maybe if you got a bunch of money or you had freedom, you do nothing. Yeah. And what does that say? Well, maybe that means that you're very tired. Maybe you're very worn out. So then, freedom, yes, but what do you really want? Right? Behind that goal of having more freedom, perhaps it's a less stressful life, having more energy. Maybe it's about having a greater sense of control over your life. And if those are the answers, as you come up with these answers, and whatever your goal is, sometimes it can allow that goal to shift, and not necessarily shift as far as it goes away, but recognize other aspects of it that you may want to work on, or more importantly, things you start having sooner. Say you want more freedom in your job. You want to become an entrepreneur full time, right? And have that freedom. Why is that meaningful? Why does that matter? Right? Well, by thinking about what you're going to do with the outcome of these goals, it helps you answer some of those questions. Why it matters, why it has meaning. And from there, you can take some of that in bits and find out ways to incorporate them into your life before the whole manifestation happens. Before you can quit your job, what can you do to gain a little more sense of agency in your life? What can you do to have a little more energy? What can you do to have a little less stress? Whatever it is, your career change. Right? Breaking it down to find out what you would do. At times, and I know for me, has actually completely reframed the way I look at my goals. And sometimes there's eliminated goals that I thought I wanted completely. But when I thought about the outcome, it was just an emotional response to a temporary situation. But when the realities came into play and what I really wanted, it wasn't even what I was going for, but I didn't know it until I did this work. So I encourage you to take some time, do this work, gain the insight, and see where it takes you.